Hey guys, Ty with Cincy Diesel Repair. Well, I haven't posted a video in about 2 years, and let me adjust this camera. And so let me update you on the changes. I quit my job, my 9-to-5 job, working at a school bus garage. So I'm just Cincy Diesel Repair is my main job now. A little excavating work too. But it's been, well, no, about 1.5 years since I quit. I think it's been about 2 years since I posted a video. I know I never posted the taking the disassembly and the work of the 6.7 Power Stroke with blown head gaskets. A lot of that got lost somehow, and I'm not very tax savvy. So I've literally spent like 2 years trying to recover all of it. I've got, I think the disassembly or the reassembly. I'll have to look. But anyhow, I think I'm going to post it along with a few other things I had after that. And I'll try to do that before this video comes out, or I might just say forget it and start fresh here. But growing a new business took time. I didn't have time to film. I didn't have time to edit. I'm going to try to change that now, and hopefully I'll get some time to post some videos. As you can see, I'm not out in the driveway anymore. I still do work there quite a bit. You know, today's June 2nd, 2025. I don't mind working outside if it's a nice day. I prefer it, really. But this shop belongs to a friend of mine. Very nice shop, if you can tell. And basically, I work on his stuff for free, and I use the shop. We're setting up a different section of the shop with a lift and some stuff. But some of the stuff's his, like this. So I'll do some videos on everything. He has some Power Strokes. I'll try to tell you if it's a customer truck or his truck, and we'll see how things go. But coming back all these years later, we do a lot of Power Stroke videos. Today we're going to do a Cummins video. So this is a 2014 from a dealership. They're getting ready to, well, I think they actually just posted it for sale, but it's got a check engine light they want me to check out. What size are these? You just got these Mickey Thompsons on there, man. They're a good looking tire. 35, 1250, 20-inch rims. So good looking truck. The interior is clean, and it's like a Laramie. I mean, it's laid out with all the options except cloth seats, and somebody took care of them, so that's good. But it's got a, what is that, the Rebel grill, or I don't know, whatever. Anyway, totally stock truck, and I mean it, totally stock. We got some codes, and I scanned it, I don't know when that was, probably 3 weeks ago now. And I remember there was some map stuff. We had some emissions codes. They said it didn't feel like it was boosting like it should. That's obviously not right, but it'll work. So let me get into the scanner. Let's see what it says. This truck's gonna stay stock because obviously, like I said, it's a dealer truck. What is this? Fuse going down through there for, oh, I bet that's for the little lights in the grill. I'm not a fan of that. Anyway, I think we're gonna come back with a map sensor issue, and the map sensor on 6.7 Cummins is right here. Might have to get the light to show you. The EGR valve, EGR's under here. Well, this is the EGR valve, little motor for the valve. Map sensor. Now on some of the, like the school buses, box trucks and that, the map sensor will actually be on the intake right back in this area. EGR cooler is this big square guy all down through here. So Yeah, this truck is totally stock, which is good or bad depending on where you live, what you want to do. But let's see what the codes are. Okay, so I accidentally just erased the code, but I went back and looked, and what it was this P2227 barometric pressure sensor A circuit range performance. And then also we have this one, which is going to stay active until it is satisfied that it's fixed. It's a P2, B as in Barry, A as in Adam, C as in Charlie. And it says NOx exceeded, deactivation of EGR active. What does that mean? That means the NOx sensors down in the emissions pipe, they're down there in the big pipe of doom, DPF, SCR. It's saying, it's reading there's too much NOx, nitrous oxides, coming out of this engine. So it has deactivated the EGR cooler. Why did it do that? Well, because the one thing the EGR cooler does is create nitrous oxides. So what does the DPF do? It takes out nitrous oxides. Well, that's a thing for a whole nother video. And there's a guy online that explains all of it so well, and I can't think of what the video is called. But basically, these systems, you know, EGRs came in first. Then we added DPFs. Then we added SCRs with the diesel exhaust fluid. And it's because this EGR does one thing but creates another problem. The DPF fixes the problem that this created, but creates the same problem that we had originally, which is where the SCR comes in, and now our air is safe and everybody's happy. I could get into it in detail, I'm not going to. So, barometric pressure sensor. The engine cannot operate clean unless all these sensors work and it's reading. So this is your barometric pressure sensor. The first little box here. Mass airflow, manifold absolute pressure is the one I showed before, which gets gummed up a lot. Yes, see, maybe, hold on, let me figure out where I put my light on the tow truck, perfect place. Okay, that right there is your MAP sensor, manifold absolute pressure. That gets coked up with soot a lot of times and won't read correctly, but that's not what we're getting a code for. Barometric pressure is what we're getting a code for, and it's circuit. So most likely it's going to be that sensor. What I'm going to do is look at the data and look and see if we're reading barometric pressure somewhere around 14 and a half. So let me pull that up. Let's see what it's reading. Okay, here's where things are going to get a little confusing. So I told you the code is for barometric pressure sensor circuit. So the barometric pressure. I also told you that is this sensor right here. Okay, so what is barometric pressure? We're looking for atmospheric pressure. This engine needs to know if you're at high or low altitude, so it can adjust timing, fuel timing, I should say, to burn efficient, clean, and make power. If you ever have driven through the mountains, when you get up in that high atmosphere, your power level drops. So the engine has to be able to see barometric pressure. this is the barometric pressure sensor, but we're going to read it as ambient air on my scanner. It might be different on other scanners. So again, just remember, all engines need to see is ambient air barometric pressure. We need to know atmospheric pressure, 14.2, 14.7, somewhere in there is your constant pressure being pushed down on you by the atmosphere, depending on your elevation, but usually in the 14s. So again, code barometric pressure sensor. I've already told you it's here. If you don't know it's here, come over and let's unplug it. We have a scanner, we can clear codes, right? So I just unplugged it. Give it a second. Okay. Barometric pressure circuit low. Intake air temp circuit high. So that tells me two things. That is the barometric pressure sensor, and that also is used to read inlet air temp. So when I go to my data, I want to see two things. I want to see what is my inlet air temperature and what is my barometric pressure or ambient air pressure. They are different. If you want to get into that scientific stuff, go ahead and Google it. For the sake of engines, ambient air pressure is usually what we're looking for in PSIs. So let's go to the data. Let's see what our intake air temp is and what the pressure is. Because we now know those are the codes, and if we want to, we can clear them. And you don't need this. Matter of fact, much of my older videos, guys have asked, what is the software I use that's on my laptop? That's Auto Ingenuity. I actually like that better than this Zeus snap-on scanner. I have to have this to do certain things on certain vehicles, but I would say I could do it 95% of the stuff with the Auto Ingenuity, and I just like the way it reads stuff better. This thing's Bluetooth. That little thing's $1,000 if you forget to unplug it. This is like, the whole thing's like 10 grand. I got it used. It's not worth it. It is if you need certain things, but for the most part, the Auto Ingenuity is great stuff. I haven't priced it, but I think like $800 gets you the software, the box to plug it in, a cord to go to your laptop, which I have all that still. My cord is messed up. I need to get a new cord. And one package. So like if you have a Chevrolet and you order the GM package, you can do everything for GMs, anything made by GM. And then you can always go on their website and order more packages. I think they're like $2.99 to order like the Ford package or so on and so forth. Anyhow, now that I just pissed off Snap-on, so we're going to data. I want to see intake air temp, and I want to see barometric pressure, or probably going to read it as ambient air. Ambient air pressure sensor voltage. So let me blow this up into a graph. So there's my graph. We're reading 1.875 volts. Fine. Let's look at intake air. A lot of sensors on these trucks now. Intake air, intake manifold temp. What kills me is sometimes I can't find certain little data PIDs I want with this scanner. It's like, man, you're giving me stuff I don't need to know. Take air throttle. But yet I can't find just a simple PID. Alright, so there again, that's our ambient air pressure sensor voltage. And we're reading at 18.7, or I'm sorry, 1.875. Now, how do we know that that's the right reading? Is that the sensor we're looking at? Again, let's go unplug it. Let's see what happens. Oh, voltage dropped. 0. So we're at the right sensor. So we verified twice now. That is reading, but look at what the code said. The code said barometric pressure sensor. What does that PID say? What does that data PID say? Ambient air pressure. See what I mean? You can't get caught up. You have to think logically, because in your scanner or auto ingenuity, it might say barometric. But usually this is what you're going to see. So here is ambient air pressure PSI. Right there. What does it say? 8.7. Okay. Barometric ambient air pressure is not 8.7. Let's unplug it again. Okay, voltage dropped out. We're still reading 8.7 across the board. Let's start the truck. Still 0. Now I'm reading 8.79. You can see it's spiked up. And honestly, that's probably it. Defaulting to another sensor for a reading, trying to use another sensor to get an idea. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Now the radio turned on, and that's not the right button. Jeez. Okay. So now again, it's going up to 8.792. Let's plug the sensor back in. All right, so this might turn into a little bit of don't use cheap parts. So here is, let me figure out which hand I'm using to get it to work. Here's the one that was in there. Let me shine a little light on the situation. All right, there's, let's see, can I read anything on that? It says transpo-cn map 1644 so there's no, oh, I'm not filming anything. There's no branding, I don't think. That transpo, maybe. But it looks like an aftermarket sensor. Okay. Oh, excuse me. That was really rude. Now, I already got it in here. This is a factory more power sensor. And let me unplug it and set all the codes. Just set all the codes. Okay. All right, now let's look at a Mopar sensor, which really isn't made by Mopar. It doesn't say anything on this side, but when you flip it over, there's all kinds of part numbers, and it says Continental right there. Can you guys read that? I don't think so. Maybe. Let's see. So the part number, it's a Continental brand, which they make quite a bit of of sensors. Maybe a 4921850, but anyhow, this is from Mopar Dodge dealer. That is a genuine sensor. So let me show you something. So let's just put this one in for a minute. You don't really have to stick it in there, but let's plug it in. Okay, let's go look at the data. And there's a little something interesting, but I'll show you that in a minute. All right, so voltage, ambient air pressure, sensor voltage, 1.18. All right, and the pressure is still 8.70. All right, so now let's pull out the Chinesium part here, and let's put in the more power part. Let's plug it in. Okay, look at our voltage, 3.75. Now what's weird to me is the pressure still stays 8.7. Now that could be the scanner. This scanner might be picking up a different PID. I don't know. I could try plugging in Auto Ingenuity and see, but well, now I got to clear codes. But I've already done this. Let's clear codes, yes. Alrighty. Let's start the truck. Now this light would immediately come back on every time. No light. Alright. Let's go into codes. Codes. Now this one, the one I showed you guys before, the NOx exceeded, that's going to stay until it sees so many drive cycles. Once it sees so many drive cycles and the NOx levels in place where they're supposed to, that code will disappear, and it's not going to check it or set a check engine light, because right now it considers it a permanent code, which doesn't mean there is a problem. It means it's monitoring, you know what I mean? It's checking to make sure the problem isn't going to come back. And as far as the air filter, it was brand new. So I'm going to tighten that down. And I'm going to take this thing for a good long drive. Get her nice and warm. Man, I love those tires. Oh, these Mickey Thompson Baja Boss. That was a good look. Anyway, take it for a good long drive. Make sure the code doesn't come back. If it does, I will be doing another part to the video. Those are Laramie fenders, aren't they? Huh. They're just flares. Yeah, maybe they're just add-on flares. I don't know, this might be Laramie. So, if you don't hear from me again, oops, that's not a slow drop gate, then it's fixed. And I think, honestly, guys, it's fixed, just from experience. But, so there you go. Don't always chase every emissions code that you see pop up. You got to remember, everything under here has to get, for the most part, a good reading from up here to know what's going on. And really, the engine has to have good readings to burn the fuel the way it needs to. So go back to your basics when you're dealing with these newer diesels. Don't get overwhelmed with the emissions codes and that. A lot of times you're going to get emissions codes because your basics aren't working properly. You know, go pre-emissions, you're still going to have a barometric pressure sensor usually, or a mass airflow sensor, or a MAP sensor. And if they short or they're cheap garbage, then they're it's just not going to do anything for you. You're always going to have a check engine light. And most likely, somebody might have traded this truck in because that sensor... Matter of fact, let me show you something real quick before you leave. Hold on. Let's go back to here. So when I initially looked at this vehicle, when it came from the auction, so basic engine codes: turbocharger, supercharger, underboost condition, manifold absolute pressure, barometric pressure sensor circuit performance, barometric pressure sensor A circuit performance. And I know that, let's see, let me see something. I know that there were several emissions codes in there. Why can't I get this thing to open? What am I? Oh, it's trying. I just opened it 112 times. Here we go. Crankcase ventilation system detected. NOx exceeding. That's the one we still have, which is going to be pending. Barometric pressure, crankcase ventilation. Oh, we've just switched modules. But so we had all these daggone codes because of one thing. So when, well, the dog. All right, so I had to sign off in the truck here, or call it sign off, end of video, whatever. Those dogs get extremely excited when their owner is coming up the driveway. So I just pulled out, driving this thing, no check engine light. It sounds good, it's running good, boost pressure's good. So I'm pretty sure we got this fixed. I'm pretty confident. But like I said, rule of thumb on this one was stick to, don't get overwhelmed by codes. Go back to simple thought on how an engine works. The signals it needs to see, things it needs to know about. And then work your way to the emission side, because you gotta remember, exhaust is the last part of an engine. So if something else is going wrong before the exhaust, it's you know, you're gonna have all those emissions codes. It's gonna be seeing problems down there. So hopefully, if you have that code, and I will make sure to put it up in this video, it's just the ambient air temp sensor, barometric pressure sensor, and you buy a good one. I strongly, I've gotten to the point where with sensors, I buy them from the manufacturer, because you talk about hard to diagnose. When you put a new sensor in something and you have a new problem or a different problem or the same problem, and now you're pinning out wires and you got 5 hours or so in this thing only because you got a junk sensor, that is extremely frustrating, and I'm tired of it, and it's happened quite often to me recently. So it's, I know they're more, but it's worth it. Just buy factory sensors. All right, guys, I appreciate you watching again. I know this video wasn't really exciting, but we're gonna have some stuff coming up that'll be kind of exciting, so just bear with me. Hit that like, hit the subscribe, help me make these videos, because they do take time. And like I said, I've spent 2 years trying to recover video, because I know that 6.7 Power Stroke head removal in without removing the cab would have been a great video for people, and I just What happened to it, I don't know. Whatever. But please like and subscribe so it makes it, you know, you guys know now I've learned how to get paid by this stuff. And it's not much until you get up there, but it does help. You know, it makes my time worth a little bit of money. And I'm not asking to be a millionaire. I'm just asking, especially now that I'm self-employed, every hour of the day counts. So I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for watching. And hit the like and subscribe. See ya. Well, I told you I'd tell you if codes came back or anything. The biro sensor, was that what it was at? What was it? Atmospheric pressure sensor. Anyway, the one we repaired didn't come back. But I did have, when I was going to take this back to the dealership, a P2201, which is NOx sensor circuit performance. Through the check engine light, truck still ran good. I thought I hit the snapshot button, but I didn't. What you would see when you pulled up NOx sensor 1 is the circuit was just kind of, the wavelength on the circuit was all over the place. You could tell it was shorting, and that's, I mean, this is what they are. Okay, they're just like an oxygen sensor, except they got this box on the end with a circuit board, and this thing sits up here in the engine bay where it just absorbs all the heat. So it's not a big surprise. Let's get up here. Oh boy. Oh boy. Alright, so let's see. Can you see it in the back? Let's see if I can get the light to stay. Right there. That's the upstream, there's two NOx sensors. This is the upstream reading what's coming out of the engine right there. And then there's one after all the emissions systems in the truck to make sure it's taking all the NOx out. So basically, just comes out like an O2 sensor. You're gonna want, let me get back down. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. Let's see. That's not what I wanted. Where is it? Is it in my pocket? You want, there it is. An oxygen sensor socket. I like these kind to get it out of that pipe. And then the box. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show you the box easy. See. Yeah. Okay. So in here. See if I can get the light to where it's not blinding, but here's your oil filter. Right. Let's see. Hold on. There it is. So just behind your oil filter is the box. Bolts. Pull it out, replace it with the new one, and clear the codes. I'll drive it for a while, put maybe 15 miles on it. If something's still wrong, then I'll bring you back again, but I really hope not. And these, I know we just talked about buying OEM sensors. This sensor, the upstream NOx sensor for these trucks from Mopar, $729, I think. But this is where you get to the thing of, do you want it to be all stock with the emission system, or do you want to go the other route and get rid of it? If you want it to be stock with the emission system and you want it to function, again, you really should get it from Mopar and spend the money, because this one, I can tell is original. It's lasted 120,000 miles. So you figure if you can get if you get 240,000 out of two sensors, that's pretty good, rather than doing this 3, 4, 5 times because you're buying cheap sensors. All right, so here's the best way to get to that sensor. Just remove your intake, just the top of the air cleaner cover, 2 connectors. This tube got the spring clamp, 8mm, and just pop that up out of the way. The sensor sits right back there in that hole. Again, use a socket to break it loose for oxygen sensors. Should come out, and then you can reach down and right in front of the turbo, there's the box. All right, so I wasn't even paying attention the other day, and they had sent me the wrong sensor. We had the downstream, or the NOx sensor for the rear. The one up here, telltale sign is it's got this aluminum wrap because it's obviously right near the exhaust and turbo, mainly turbo. So I got the right one now. I think I showed you guys already where it sits, down in there. It's not the end of the world to get to by any means. One thing I was going to tell you is, where's the old one? Here's the old one. So when you're ordering these, why won't this thing ever focus, man? I got something set wrong, probably. Anyway, I don't know if you can read it or not, but right there it says Cummins. The emission systems for these are made by Cummins. So if you go to the dealer, this is like $740 or $750 at the Dodge dealer. But if you search the Cummins number, you can get it a lot cheaper online and still get a genuine part, like $300 and something. So I don't think it's going to pick it up. So the part number is 2872948. So if you, again, I don't know why this thing's, I'm sure I got something set wrong. Oh good, I just hit, okay. Anyway, so just Google that part number, come up with like Parts Geek or those other online parts places, 2872948. Just put in Google Cummins 2872948. It'll come up with this sensor. And again, as long as it comes in a Cummins box, that's who makes the emissions parts to match their engine. So that one's junk. So we got the new one. I'm gonna get it installed. We'll clear the codes. Let's see what it does. We drove it for, I don't know, I'm gonna say about 10 miles so far. Everything seems to be fine. No check engine light. It even seems to run a little better. That might just be me thinking that. But anyhow, hopefully this one's done this time for sure. If not, I'll bring you back again, but I think we got it this time. So once again, guys, I appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and comment below. I really appreciate it. You guys have gotten me where I am today, and I can't say enough. So I'll see you next time.